The internet is home to many creatures, many freaky little guys, many ooky, spooky sisters. Hi, sisters! When you think of creature on the internet, you may think of Slenderman or Smile Dog, your classic creepypastas. But today we're talking about a gentleman that precedes these delightful creepypasta creatures by several decades. We're taking a time machine and we're going back to the 1980s. Hello, my name is GlitchWitch.JPG. I make videos about internet horror, analog horror, digital horror, creepypasta, internet urban legends, ARGs, and sometimes I talk about movies and video games, and also sometimes I just talk about random internet shit. And that's where we're at today. Little internet oddities, I like to call them. If I did the title gag with the Stranger Things logo like I want to do, know that I'm just, buying into the thing that's popular. I fell off Stranger Things halfway through season 4. Sorry. Don't make hour-and-a-half TV episodes. Please stop doing that. Here I am today, GlitchWitch.JPG, looking like I graduated from Euphoria High, but now I'm a substitute teacher at Hawkins High School, to talk to you about my favorite little 1980s cryptid that was welcomed with open arms on the internet, more specifically on Tumblr.com, and that would be the Milkwalker. If you are not familiar with the Milkwalker, oh boy, you're in for a treat. The Milkwalker captured the hearts and minds of the internet from a Tumblr post. Like so many of my favorite weird things on the internet, it happened on Tumblr. It's like, a lot of the weird internet oddities, they start on Reddit, 4chan, or Tumblr. And I was a Tumblr girl when I was growing up. I didn't mess with Reddit until I was a full-grown adult. Now I love Reddit. It's one of those things where it's like you buy in on the thing when it's way too late to buy in on it, and like everyone else is Stockholmed into it, but you willingly entered the bear trap, kind of. That's where I am with Reddit. I love Reddit. But I made a Reddit account at age 27. And I have never messed with 4chan. I am one of God's innocent creatures that has never touched 4chan. I'm gonna keep it that way. Scary place. Anyway, I loved Tumblr. I was that level of internet poison and brain rot. I was reblogging John Locke fan art and all that crap. It was a dark time in a different way than the 4chan users. But anyway, I love when a weird thing happens on Tumblr because it's usually kind of nonsensical and just kind of bizarre for the sake of bizarre. And I feel like that's what happened with Milkwalker. But Milkwalker was not created by Tumblr. He was simply found by a Tumblr user and shared to the masses. The Tumblr that shared Milkwalker, I've gendered Milkwalker a man, and I'm sorry that I've done that, because I know that there's not really any definitive thing stating what gender Milkwalker is. I think it's because he gives me there I go again, Slenderman creature, I don't know. So I am going to refer to the Milkwalker as he, him pronouns, but you feel free to do whatever you would like. I don't know. But anyway, Milkwalker was posted by the Tumblr blog Heck Yeah Old Tech, which I am a little confused by, because I wouldn't call a milk carton old tech, but sure. The original post was captioned as follows. There are some weird advertising characters out there. This is one of them. Darigold milk during the mid-1980s was putting Milkwalker, a pint of milk with arms and legs, and rather scary ones at that, and huge soul-gobbling eyes on its boxes with tips how to live your life safely. Those hinge knees, man. I've found no origin story, no other record of this being a thing that answers any questions about what Darigold was thinking and how long he was, to them and the school children who saw him daily, a thing. That's why I've gendered him, he, him, because Heck Yeah Old Tech did. Now I understand. Milkwalker, it is a instantly eye-grabbing image. If I was a child eating my turkey slop hot lunch and I saw this thing, I think I'd sit down and listen to see what he had to say, or else, perhaps. I get that he's kind of freaky and scary, but the face is very kind to me. I think that Milkwalker exudes a kind energy, and he's scary enough maybe to scare off the scary things. Did we ever stop and consider that Milkwalker is on our side? He's telling us to be safe, he's teaching us things, he's wise. But anyway, this original image, he's on a chocolate milk carton, which already points in my book. I hate that. I'm going to put this out here before I continue this video. I don't like milk. I can do chocolate milk.
Oh man, that was awesome.
I don't like dairy. I like sparing types of cheese, like a melted mozzarella and a melted Oaxaca. Other than that, I don't really want your cheese. I hate yogurt. Talked about that extensively in my dry yogurt video. Check that out, please. If you like Milkwalker, I know you're gonna like dry yogurt for him, man. I know it. I like ice cream, but I don't like milk. I did not grow up being forced to drink a glass of milk with dinner because my parents didn't want me puking at every meal. Like, they grew up doing that, but they realized very quickly, oh, she's not gonna listen if we try to get her to do this. And God bless my grandmother. She was insistent everyone drank milk with dinner, but it could be chocolate milk. So I was fine. But yeah, happy that it's chocolate milk because that's the only form of milk I will consume. I'm sure he was on non-chocolate variations, as we'll learn later. But I'm glad that the one image we have of him, he's on a chocolate milk. Milkwalker says, be safe. Be sure you know your full name, the address where you live, the city you live in, and your home telephone number. So, when this post hit Tumblr ran with it, naturally, because look at him. This was posted in 2016, so creepypasta was well established, well beloved at this point, so he was very much embraced as sort of a creepypasta scary character. Not ever too seriously, it was more like fan art and stuff in jest. About the Milkwalker. It wasn't really genuine creepypastas written to try to make him scary. It was more like, wow, why did you guys think that children would be comfortable looking at this freak? I'm gonna draw him because he's Blorbo. That was, which is very Tumblr. It just became this, thing. I don't even know when I first saw Milkwalker. I don't remember a time before Milkwalker. It just feels like he's always been there. It's one of those, ubiquitous internet images to me. And I've never done any research into him, and as I sat down to make this video, there's not much. There's really not much, but I found a little bit. And I have a sticker of him on my computer, and I was sitting at work, working on my work computer while I was charging my personal device so it would be charged when I got home. And I looked down and I looked at Milkwalker and I thought, we need to talk about you. even if it's not anything of much substance, we need to talk about him. I can't let him not be talked about on GlitchWitch.JPG. Yes, to me, he was always a mystery. It was just like, oh, that's a weird thing they did. So I assumed there probably wasn't a lot of information because if there was, I feel like I would have heard about it. But if you dig a little, we have sparing amounts of information. As we know, it's Darigold is the manufacturer. And Darigold is a Seattle-based dairy that's been around for a long time. They're still around today. It's funny, my husband is from Portland. He lived in Portland for a long time. And when I said Darigold, he was like, I know Darigold. We had Darigold all the time. So I'm really dying to know if we were doing math, and I don't think he has anyone in his family that would have been a school child in the 1980s, to ask them if they personally were affected by Milkwalker. I wish I had, boots on the ground information. If you are from the Pacific Northwest area and know someone who's a school child in the 1980s, email GlitchWitch.JPG@gmail.com for boots on the ground Milkwalker reporting. Thank you. So Darigold there's nothing on the Darigold website for Milkwalker. I looked and I did manage to find a series of tweets ranging from a few years ago to way more recently from Darigold about Milkwalker. So he has been acknowledged by his creator, kind of. On December 27, 2016, so the year that Milkwalker was unleashed upon the masses, someone tweeted Darigold. The post was deleted by the post author. And I feel like 2016 was the big era of, like, Twitter just deleting accounts for no reason, so who knows what happened. But, December 27, 2016, Darigold says, "We appreciate the enthusiasm of the fans. Milkwalker was used in a safety campaign on Darigold milk cartons. Designer is unknown." And then they showed the original Milkwalker, which clearly is just redrawn from the milk carton, to an updated modern Milkwalker, which is everything. If you don't know, I'm a professional graphic designer. Like, that's what I do from 9 to 5, and also sometimes from 6 to midnight. This is very much the epitome of, like, we took the old logo and we ruined it by making it modern, and I kind of think that that's the joke that's happening here. Then on August 29, 2024, they replied to this thread, which is crazy, and said, "Yes, it is true that the creator of the original Milkwalker is unknown to us. Some in our office has even said that the design just appeared one day on a weathered piece of parchment with the words 'Be safe' etched into it. We cannot confirm nor deny this. Also, we're going to pretend that the redesign doesn't exist. Hashtag Milkwalker forever." So they've acknowledged him. The fact that they have not put him back on milk cartons is very troubling to me. If they sold merch, they'd make a lot of money from people all over the internet, people all over the country, perhaps the world, and not have to just rely on sales from the Pacific Northwest. So, Darigold, do it. I don't even need a cut. I'm just asking for it, please. Because I have a sticker. It's bootleg. You could be selling the stickers yourself. I would buy it again from you if you sold them. I'm just saying. And I love that the designer is unknown. That's what happens to graphic designers. We don't get credited. I signed my rights away the second I agreed to be employed or signed a contract to do the thing. So I don't even blame Darigold. I'm sure the designer... I wonder if it was a designer is also my thing. I wonder if, like, Bob from accounting was like, "Look at this milk guy I drew." And then they put him on cartons, because that shit happens all the time. I think it's cute that they've acknowledged him. I think they need to do more with him, though. I was able to find one newspaper clipping that alluded to his existence at the time that he was created. And this was a big find for me, because I've never seen anyone else talk about this. And this was on a man's personal blog. The blog papergreat.com on September 6th, 2025. So this is kind of breaking news. Chris Otto, who runs Papergreat, he's a historian who focuses on just the history of books, folklore, general history, random ephemera, often paper-based, which is really cool. Obviously, Milkwalker is a piece of printed material. I was able to find an article from the Whitby News-Times, which was out of Oak Harbor, Washington, about Milkwalker launching. So I'm just going to go ahead and read this to y'all. Milk cartons teach safety to school children. Oak Harbor School District is among 43 school districts included in a Darigold milk carton campaign featuring tips on how to be safe. Darigold is using a cartoon character called Milkwalker as the spokesman for their campaign. 5 different Be Safe messages will be presented on a rotating basis. The company began distribution of the cartons last week. The campaign will continue to the end of the school year and will be reinstituted next fall. Darigold distributes about 46 million half-pint cartons to school districts annually. Examples of the safety tips on the cartons include: never wander off from your parents when you're with them away from home. Tell your parents or a trusted adult right away if a stranger asks you to go with them, wants to give you presents, or wants to take your picture. Be sure to know your full name, the address where you live, the city you live in, and your home telephone number. We finally have a little bit of context of Milkwalker as a campaign on the whole. And again, as a designer who's worked in marketing and all of that, it being a full-blown campaign makes sense to me. Obviously, on its own, with the one image we have, the whole, like, be sure to remember all that, you know, your telephone number and where you live and all that. It seems, like, extra weird, like, for that to be the only one we've seen. But with these other messages, it obviously makes sense that this is in reaction to a larger cultural issue of the 80s that I'm going to get into at length in a few moments. I'm sure you saw that coming. We know that it was widespread. 43 school districts is not a small range, right? It ran for at least a year and was likely going to be reinstated the following year. Who knows if that's true. But I mean, 46 million half-pint cartons to school districts. That's a lot of Milkwalkers, and I'm kind of shocked we don't have any other images of any of the other campaigns. If Darigold didn't keep, you know, the original drawing or some of the original just flat prints before they were manufactured into the actual pints, the actual boxes, why would we have pictures of them, I guess? It's not like kids were taking cameras to school to take pictures of their milk cartons that they saw every day. I do wonder if kids drew pictures of Milkwalker, but it's one of those things that it's like, this is of course exactly what I thought it would be. It's not really like breaking news, but it is cool to see it actually in print, like proof that it was a real campaign, proof that millions of children saw Milkwalker. Thousands of, you know, school at cafeteria employees saw Milkwalker daily. I just think that's neat. This guy, this creature is very emblematic of one of my main points of the stuff I cover on my channel. I focus on internet history and internet culture, of course, but there's so many little mundane things that we come across daily in our lives that to us means nothing, but could be considered a very fascinating and interesting cultural touch point to people decades in the future. And Milkwalker is a great example of this because he is very indicative of the culture of the United States of America in the 1980s. The reason for that being, if you're not aware, there was this phenomena in the 1980s of missing kids on the side of milk cartons. It's kind of become a pop culture joke at this point. I feel like it's used kind of for gags a lot in TV shows and comedy and stuff. But it was a very real thing, and it also was kind of a massive, gigantic failure. Is responsible, honestly, for a lot more harm than good, and Milkwalker is definitely a response to that culture and that concept, but I think that Milkwalker handles it in a better way. But first, let me just talk about this entire phenomenon of missing kids on the side of milk cartons. So this phenomenon started in the 80s, and dairies would print photos of missing kids as well as information about where they were last seen, the clothes they were wearing, their hair color, their eye color, their height, all of that information on the side of milk cartons. The idea essentially being people are forced to engage with this, look at it, think about it, because it's literally on, you know, the breakfast table, right? One of the first kids to be put on the side of a milk carton was Eaton Patz. He was kind of just a big case in general when it came to the United States concern over missing children. His birthday was designated National Missing Children's Day in the U.S. by, at the time, President Reagan. Unfortunately, he was never found. Another big case that people associate with kids on the side of milk cartons is Johnny Gosch. And the case of Johnny Gosch is far more intricate. Sorry guys, my computer started dying the second I started talking about Johnny Gosh, which isn't suspicious at all, and has nothing to do with my poor planning of not plugging my computer in, and everything to do with people wanting to silence me. The case of Johnny Gosh is far more than just that he was featured on the side of a milk carton. There is a lot of conspiracy theory around this case. He has never been found. To this day, his mother maintains that he appeared to her as an adult, knocked on her door, came and spoke to her for about an hour or so, and then left never to be seen again, and that he claimed he was the victim of a trafficking ring. And she also got photos dropped off at her house that she believed was a photo of Johnny, held captive. There's a lot. There is a lot. It's a very dense case. There's a documentary called Who Took Johnny that came out in 2014 that I watched at the time, and I liked it at the time, I remember, but I will say with the caveat of any true crime media put out in that era, I'm not gonna 100% give the thumbs up, except for The Keepers on Netflix. I do stand by that series, because true crime is weird. We all know it. I've talked about that at length before, but that will at least give you more information on that case. The point being that these two very high-profile missing children's cases that were put on the side of milk cartons, they were never found. It didn't help at all. It did nothing but make people panic. Is largely responsible for creating a huge moral panic in American parents and children, thinking that they were just going to be snatched off the street. And that's not me saying that can't, yes, of course that can happen. Statistically, though, most of the children featured on the side of these milk cartons had been kidnapped by their own parents or family members that did not have custody post a divorce, which is also something you see a lot in Amber Alerts, modern Amber Alerts. That's horrible, and that absolutely should be tracked, and those, children should be found, but it shouldn't cause a moral panic about, every little Stevie and Bobby being kidnapped in a white van off the side of the road, right? And, this milk carton phenomenon really only lasted in the 1980s and was even slowing by the end of the 80s because it frankly wasn't effective. And in 1996, it was fully replaced by the Amber Alert, which is our modern system in the United States for tracking missing children, and is often, in my opinion, it's a lot more effective because it's location specific and gives you information about, the person who has abducted the child. Like, we've seen this car going in this location, last seen here, which is helpful. It's a lot more specific than getting a milk carton, about a kid from a state over, and it's like, yes, potentially you could help, but really all it's going to make you do is think your own child's going to get kidnapped, or if you're a child, be constantly worried that anyone who even glances at you is going to kidnap you. Which, yes, stranger danger is real. We should be, we shouldn't just get into people's cars, but there's a healthy medium between constantly fearing death and, walking into the middle of the road willy-nilly, right? The demographics on these milk cartons were absolutely it was like all little white kids. There were barely any minorities featured. So it wasn't even helping all missing kids. It was just helping, the flashy ones that the news wanted to talk about, which that hasn't changed. I mean, yes, Amber Alerts do cover all ethnicities and races and everything. But, whenever a white girl goes missing, it gets a lot more attention than a woman of color, or, trans people who are murdered and all of that. We haven't gotten much better in the United States. So I'm not surprised that it was mostly little white kids on the side of the milk cartons. But I think that Milkwalker is a really smart answer to missing kid milk cartons, because it's preventative and it's a lot less fear-mongering. Yes, Milkwalker is weird, but he's a quirky, cool little cartoon character with tips to remind you how to be safe. And they're not threatening to me. It's not like using scare tactics. It's like, hey, remember to stick by your parents' side. Don't talk to strangers. Let your parents know if a stranger tries to talk to you. Remember your telephone number and your address and the city you live in. Like, those are all very harmless things that kids really should know. I mean, I didn't know my home address for a long time because I was really bad at memorizing things. So, like, Milkwalker would have helped me feel like I need to learn this, and that's okay. I need to learn this. It's important. Milkwalker says so. Like, that shit works on kids. So I think campaigns like this are going to be way more effective in, creating more Johnny Goshes than finding the ones that are already missing. That's where you need law enforcement. That's where you need, billboards, I think, are more successful than milk cartons, but only in the area that it's affected. And obviously the Amber Alert was a huge improvement upon all of this, but that took a while, technology and all that. But I think that in this weird way, Milkwalker is a very positive thing, potentially a very helpful thing, and I get that he looks scary, and it's kind of funny to us, but it's kind of nice that there was this, like, solid attempt to actually help kids that wasn't based in fear-mongering, and that's why I say that things like this need to be preserved as a part of our nation's history, because as silly and goofy as we perceive the Milkwalker, it's so illuminating to the way that we were thinking in this country at this period of time. It's a different perspective. It paints another side to this phenomenon that we've also kind of reduced to a joke, to be frank. So I think that Milkwalker is a great mascot for preserving, unexpected culture. And it's crazy to see that this funky little guy that started, as a response clearly to this insane fear-mongering tactic of missing kid milk cartons now lives on as like a creepypasta online. I mean, Trevor Henderson, who is, one of our great horror artists, he did a drawing of Milkwalker, which of course resulted in Milkwalker then being kind of turned into content slop with bootleg merchandise, and there's a Roblox game based off of all of Trevor Henderson's characters called Cult of the Cryptids. There's a whole world on the internet I know nothing about. Roblox scares me. I do not want to engage. I played Dress to Impress for like a month once, and it scared me. I don't like Roblox. I don't think there are any children watching me. If there are, or if you have siblings or children yourself, be careful. I don't like Roblox. That's me fear-mongering. It never ends. It's weird how you go from being on the side of a milk carton in Washington to being a character in a Roblox game. What a world we live in. Let me know if you had any weird PSA characters you grew up with in your area. I think this is a fascinating subset of very American culture, to be honest. We love to panic and not really do anything about it. I kind of like that Milkwalker is a calming presence saying, it's okay, just be careful, but live your life. Thank you so much for watching. I'd like to thank my YouTube members. In the creepypasta OCs are up on screen, which Milkwalker feels like a creepypasta OC. In Survival Horror Emo, we have E-Rob and So-Called Punk, and then in Analog Horror Scary Face, we have Kira Coffer, Alvacan, and Charlotte Sabina. If you would like to become a YouTube member, there's a little join button next to the subscribe button, but liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, all of that means the world. Make sure you know your full name. Make sure you know your full name, your address, the city where you live, and your telephone number. Bye.